The journey to motherhood is not an easy one. Available statistics show that between 10 to 20% of all confirmed pregnancies lead in loss. In today's episode of Mommy Talks with me, Karong'o, we are joined by Mary Wangui, a mother who went through that road in 2018. She'll share with us her story of strength and courage that we hope will be of help to a mother who may be going through the same. Thank you so much for accepting to share your story with us, and we hope that it will be an encouragement to other women who may be going through the same. So what I've not mentioned in my introduction is that you are 20 weeks pregnant. How is it going?
It's fine. I'm coping. I don't have any problems as per now. And the pregnancy has been good, yes.
So let us go back to 2018. You were pregnant. You lost your baby. Take us through the circumstances that led to the loss of the baby.
I started noticing that my arms were swelling and my body was swelling, but I took it lightly. I never went to hospital immediately. I waited for my next appointment. So after like a week, I went to my appointment and was told that my pressure is high and also I have traces of protein in my urine. So it meant that I have to be admitted immediately so that they can control both the protein and the pressure. So I was admitted and I was put on magnesium and nifedipine that night. And then I was taken to a dark room where I was laid the whole night on my left side. But still in the morning, my pressure was still high. So I had to be transferred to a bigger hospital, and I was taken to Avenue Hospital where I was done, some tests were done to the kidneys, they were okay, but still there was protein, high level of protein in urine. So I was admitted for 2 days, receiving jabs of steroids so that my baby could grow. And the blood pressure was still high, and my baby was around 26 weeks. So the doctor told me that they're not able to handle such a preemie. I have to be referred to a bigger hospital. And that's why when they called Coptic, but now I couldn't be admitted there, I was taken to Kenyatta Hospital. And I was admitted immediately at the critical ward, labor ward, where I was under close watch of the doctors. So after around 2 days in Kenyatta Hospital, that's when they told me that it's not going well. The protein is still high, the pressure is still high. They told me that they'd have to deliver the baby. But looking at my scan, the baby was not growing from 24 weeks because the placenta was not working. So basically the baby was 24 weeks. So they told me they would deliver the baby. And that is after being seen by around 6 gynecologists from Kenyatta Hospital. And they told me to sign the theatre form. And I did. I went to surgery at around 7 in the evening. So that's when they delivered my baby. She was okay. And she was taken to NICU. So I was not able to see her until the next day in the morning because I was on the theatre drugs and all that. So I went to see the baby in the morning and we stayed the baby the whole day. The next day now, it was at night now, the second night. That's when they started telling me that she's having trouble breathing. And one nurse started doing CPR. And when I left at around 12, that's when I left her doing CPR on my baby.
12 midnight?
Yeah, midnight. And now, you know, you have to see your baby after 2 hours when she's in the NICU. So going at around 3 in the morning, that's when I found out that my baby had already passed on. Yes.
Did you get to know what led to her passing on?
What they wrote in the death register was that my baby passed on because of respiratory distress syndrome, which means that her lungs were not fully developed and they were sort of having water, developing some water and all that.
What did that make you feel?
Actually, I just stood there blank. When they told me, I just stood there blank. I just looked at her. But I felt Okay, well, it hit me when they told me to sign the death register. That is when it hit me. Yeah, I saw her name there and I had to sign, and it hit me at that point and I couldn't do it, but I tried.
What had you called her? What was her name?
Precious. Her name was Precious. Yes.
And from the time that you were told she's no more, how did you start coping with it?
Actually, I just signed that register. I went to the toilet and then I cried. I called my husband. He encouraged me, told me it's not the end of the road. At least I was alive, and at least the baby is better where she is now, because she was undergoing through so much pain. I could see the injections, the aspiration. You could see she was struggling. So he told me that she's in a better place. And also my mom and my brother were a very big support system at that point. But I'd say that crying really made me get over it.
So you had a strong support system. Is there anything else you did at an individual level to assist you with coping?
Yes. I read a lot of books, including the Bible, and especially a book I had bought that is called The Power of Faith, and it encouraged me at that moment. Also, I joined a group for women who have gone through such ordeals.
How was it like telling your friends, telling your family, telling work colleagues? How was it like?
Basically, I didn't tell it to anyone directly. They already knew. People already knew. And those that didn't know, I just let it pass. If you ask me how the baby is doing, I'd say she's okay and all that, because I didn't want to revive the feelings, the memories. But for my relatives, they knew in their own way, because if you see me, I'm not pregnant, I don't have a baby, I think you'll assume for yourself. But there's no one I told directly that this is what happened.
Your son, you have your firstborn son, he was 7 years at the time. Did he get to know there was a loss that took place?
No, he didn't know, because he didn't even know that I was pregnant. And I think it would have been very hard for me to explain to him where the sibling went. Yes, it would have been very hard. I have tried to keep even this pregnancy a secret from him. Yeah, not that I expect anything bad to happen, but I'd rather have it that way. Yes.
At what point did you feel that now, yes, you've reached the point of acceptance that Precious is normal?
I didn't accept it. I have not been able to talk about it until a month ago, actually, when I found out I was pregnant, and I thought maybe she's coming back in her own way. It has been hard. I've never told anyone what happened. Just the other day I wrote it on social media, and that is the time that it hit me. It's true. Now she's gone. Although it's bad, it's really hard to look at that, what you have written again, and internalize it. It doesn't go away. Actually, you just delete that status and then you start again the grieving process. People say that it will go away after a time. It's still hard, because once in a while I think about it, I find myself really having a difficult time. Yes.
Did you seek any help in grieving to take you through the grieving process?
Yes. Now, basically from the mothers who have gone through it. Those are the only people who can understand what you're saying and what you're going through. So basically the support system that a mother who has gone through grieving needs is another mother who has gone through the same process, and now you hold your hands and then you walk this journey together. Yes, basically those are the people that made me feel that it's okay.
If you were to describe the journey that you've been through from 2018 to date in one word, what would it be?
Challenging. Yes, because now you have to explain to some people you meet on the way, where is the baby, how is the baby. It is a bit of a challenge, and also having to really be accepted in the community after such a loss. You know, some people will think that it was your problem, and maybe you have a problem, and maybe you'll not even make it in this next pregnancy, and it's really hard. It's really hard. With all those questions from people who don't know, I basically had to quit my job where I was working because the pressure was too much. Yes.
Are you nervous with this pregnancy?
Yes, very. It's natural to be nervous because you don't know what will happen. But I've been really trying to relax, and also I've been taking really good care of myself. And also I have a very good gynecologist who is guiding me. Yes.
What would be your word of encouragement for other mothers who may be going through a similar situation?
A word of advice for those who are grieving is to tell them that it's okay. It happens to many people. It happens to many mothers, and there is hope after that. You don't have to keep on just grieving. You just have to try and make another step, because it will engage your mind to think about other things other than that loss that you experienced. Yes.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I'd like to say that people should not be so hard on mothers who have lost babies. It has never been a mother's fault that her baby has died. Whether you knew about your condition or not, people should not target to mothers.
Don't go away. We'll be joined shortly by Diana Chepkosgei, a psychologist at StillAMum, an organization that works with women who are going through pregnancy loss. She'll be telling us how we can be of help to women who are grieving the loss of a pregnancy.
Thank you so much for joining us. Pregnancy loss is one of the devastating moments for any parent. Some of them don't even know how to deal with it. Should they grieve, or what should they do? Is it right to grieve a pregnancy loss?
It's very right, it's very legitimate to grieve, because we're just living in a society whereby, and especially for the initial stages of the pregnancy, maybe it was a miscarriage at about 6 weeks or 10 weeks, and it wasn't actually physically seen. And most of these families tend to suffer in silence, because the whole idea of it was, sorry to say, it was a bunch of cells, and why should you cry about it? Move on, you are able to get another child. So the importance of allowing your pain out there is for you to process. It's for you to heal, because with grief comes trauma. With grief comes the whole idea of grief, the emotional response to loss is very traumatic. So the important thing is to process it, to be aware, what am I facing, what am I dealing with, to acknowledge that it is okay to feel sad, it's okay to be in denial, but moving forward, how can I cope and how can I navigate the whole grief experience?
What are the stages of grief that they go through?
What we say with grief is unique, grief is personal, and grief is very significant. The most common stages of grief, it's actually a layout that was created by a psychiatrist known as Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, but it's not like the definite ways of how grief should be for everyone, but it's just a standard layout that we use. So there are 5 stages of grief. The first one is denial. It's a space of emotional numbness and shock, and mostly it happens during the initial stages, when maybe you're still at the hospital or you've just lost the baby in whatever space you are in, and you're still trying to process. No, you're not even actually trying to process. Like, it feels like it's a dream, it's a movie, and no, this is not me. I haven't lost my baby. I know I'm still pregnant. And so for some women, they can still wake up in the morning feeling that they can feel their baby bump, but it's not there. So it's being in a place where they're not able to process emotions. After denial, we get into anger. Anger is a place of being easily irritable, struggling with anger towards self. Maybe I overworked, that led to the loss of my baby. Maybe your spouse, you were having difficulty in your marriage at that point. Maybe you felt the doctors, they never gave the best treatment when you were in hospital. So even to God, anger towards God, like God is you go to God because He blesses, He gives. Why should He also take away the one thing that you've been maybe waiting for and praying for? So anger towards various things, just try to analyze the whole grieving experience. After anger, we get into the place of bargaining. Bargaining now with God, it's very awkward, but you really get into a place you feel like, what if I didn't take that ride that night? What if I didn't use that bumpy, that very bad road that was so bumpy that maybe it could have contributed to the miscarriage? And even you ask God, what if I live a good life? Maybe I will wake up and I'm still pregnant. Or maybe I've been living a very horrible life, that's why I deserve to be punished. So you just try to negotiate with God, because you're in a very difficult place, and your mind, you actually become irrational in the way you process things, and you just try to find a place of peace to come to terms with the loss of your baby. And after bargaining, you now get into the heated part, depression, which is the climax of grief. Depression is a place of extreme sadness for more than 2 weeks. And as much as it's a very dark place, it's a very fulfilling stage. Because with depression, you're able now to get to the core of the grief, and you're able to process. There is extreme isolation, extreme withdrawal from people, from previous valued activities, and you just want to cry, you just want to remain in bed, you can't open the curtains, you can't take a bath. So we advise that if that space lasts for more than 2 weeks now, that's where you might need further support, professional support. And finally, we get into acceptance. Acceptance is a place of, it's not like the silver lining of the story, but it's a place of you're at peace with the reality that baby is normal. It doesn't mean that you're living, you're doing well, you have moved on, you still have your bad days, you still have your good days, but you're at peace that this is the new normal. My baby is not here, but you can still connect with them and create memories of your child.
In cases where there are children involved and they were aware that there is a sibling on the way, how do you work with the parents to ensure that even the children grieve appropriately and they get to understand that they've lost a sibling?
It's a very sensitive and a difficult place to be, because parents also involve their children. You know, there's also, and your sibling is coming, and also the kids are excited. So what we encourage a very genuine, simple conversation with the kids, because kids observe, kids they process the kind of environment you create in the house, and they know when you're sad, they know when things are not okay. And kids, it depends with the age. Some kids, they're not able to comprehend and process it cognitively, but some, they're able to understand.
How can family and friends come in to support parents who've lost a pregnancy or who've gone through a pregnancy loss?
Families or friends can come in to support by, we encourage physical presence. We really encourage for you to be there, actually do more and talk less, because a lot of talking leads to maybe insensitive comments and triggers the mom and traumatizes the mom or the father. Maybe a simple way to communicate, like, I'm so sorry for your loss, and how can I be of help? You know, and I can imagine it's tough, it must be a difficult experience, but I'm here for you. And just to do something and try to create an environment for them to talk, an environment for them to cry.
For mothers who've gone through multiple losses, pregnancy losses, how is the grieving process? Is it the same as the first, or do you see a change as they go about?
The grieving experiences are different between the losses. At first, the grief might not be as much, but you know, when the same experience reoccurs, someone tends to ask questions like, what's wrong with me? Am I okay? Was I destined to live this kind of life? Will I not get children and all that? So it becomes more traumatizing, it becomes more overwhelming, because every loss is a trigger, and it takes you back to a place of, you know, anxiety. Maybe this is my life, and how am I going to navigate it? So it becomes difficult, but we work with them, and still we say that adoption is not bad. It can be an option. we encourage surrogacy if you can afford, IVF if you can afford. But then again, our story in all this, we don't say that the silver lining is having a child. The fact that you've walked through that life with courage, you're still a mom to angel babies. So our story is not that we will take you through counseling at the end of it all. Yeah, you have a baby, we are now happy, we are done with you. No, we're just gaining the strength and resilience through all this. With or without a baby at the end of it all, your story is still valid and you can still live an ordinary, fulfilled life.
There are mothers who get pregnant immediately after they lose a pregnancy. How do you ensure that they grieve the pregnancy that they've lost and they also take care of the unborn child that they are now carrying?
When it comes to getting pregnant after a previous loss, we work with these families or parents by taking them back to the past, allowing them to gain awareness of the emotional responses at that particular time, to process the trauma that was previously experienced and to bring it to surface, and just developing new ways of coping, because the pregnancy right now is a trigger that takes you back and puts you in a place of anxiety. There are a lot of questions and concerns. What if the same experience will happen? And if it is not well taken care of, they might even develop obsessive compulsive behavior of being extremely cautious of the pregnancy. That even a slight, when the baby is not moving, they have showed up in the hospital whatever time of the night, or even when they give birth, they tend to really observe the baby every minute, even if the baby is sleeping. Are they still breathing? Are they okay? So we work with them to first deal with the trauma, deal with the grief, and now to a place of relaxation, a place of acceptance, a place of being just taking a day at a time in the new pregnancy and dealing with the anxiety that comes with the new pregnancy.
It's a very vulnerable situation that mothers find themselves in when they lose a pregnancy. What are some of the common disorders that you see with mothers following a pregnancy loss?
What we usually treat our clients, we manage a lot of grief disorders, right from simple grief to complicated grief or even prolonged grief. These are disorders like you went through a loss 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but you're not able to process at that time. And this time you've been triggered with yet another loss. It might be personal or from a friend. So we go back to uncover those very negative repressed emotions that has led to disorders like complicated grief. And we manage a lot of depression cases, from major depression to clinical depression. We go into anxieties, different types of anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorders, anger management. We will do a lot of anger management sessions because of the inbuilt anger that has been birthed from the grief. Again, we deal with different kind of addictions, because addiction can be a coping mechanism. You find yourself that maybe alcoholism, because of you trying to distract yourself, and you find yourself into the habit of getting into drugs, or even sexual addiction or eating disorders. You find yourself become anorexic or bulimic at some point. You take in a lot, then you vomit it out. So there are very different types of conditions that we manage, or even to the point of psychosis, where you've actually lost your mind completely. And that's where we might have to involve a psychiatrist to walk you through that.
How would a mother know when she's falling into depression, thinking that it's still grief, but it's depression? What are the symptoms that would tell you, no, this is not grief anymore, this is now depression that you're going to?
So depression is when you're extremely isolated, uninterested in people, uninterested in things, in activities that you valued before, and you really find it hard even to take care of yourself in terms of hygiene. So those are the key symptoms of depression compared to grief. Grief is natural and it's different. It can take, the first month it will be difficult, but then again, it's not like you're dealing with extreme sadness, with extreme isolation. At least you can embrace people, you can embrace community, you can talk to someone, but depression is the total shutdown emotionally.
Anything else you'd like to add?
What I would like to add is, like, when it comes to handling grief, it's very much okay to feel weak, because there's nothing like being strong. That's how the society has really encouraged us that, you know, even when you're at the burial ceremony, the funeral, you know, when you're crying and the relatives are trying to wipe your tears and cover you up, you need to be strong, that it's okay to be broken, it's okay to feel overwhelmed, and it's still okay to seek therapy. There's nothing wrong with counseling. It's not for the weak. These are for people who are now aware and willing to take charge of their healing journey. It's okay to seek for help.
Thank you for staying with us. We hope that today's episode has been of encouragement to you who may be going through pregnancy loss. Join us again next week for another episode where we discuss the impact of COVID-19 on access to maternal and child health services. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe using the subscribe button below, and you could also ring the bell to get notifications whenever we upload new content. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.